Namaste, Chingus. It's your girl Kathleen, aka Kasurin, aka Sorin, and we are back with Sorin's Soapbox. Get into it, get into it. What's up, y'all? We are back with another episode of Sorin's Soapbox, and I'm so glad to have you here kicking it with your girl for another episode. If you are new here, I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. We love new people around here. Kick off your shoes, relax your feet, come and hang out with your girl. If you are a returning listener, how you doing? How your mama dem? How your family? Thank you for coming back and hanging out with me. I love you always. But thank you everyone for coming back for another episode. Come and chill with your girl, grab you a drink, grab you some water, grab you some tea, some coffee, whatever it is. Just make sure you're drinking responsibly. And let's just jump into a new episode. Jump in, jump out, and kick it with me. So as you know, we always like to kick off an episode with what I call Sorin's Life Update. This is where we just talk about what's been going on with me for the past 2 weeks, essentially what's been going on since the last episode, and just kind of keep you up to date on what's happening. So as usual, your girl's just been working. And we say thank God, because child, as a substitute teacher, you don't really get a lot of hours sometimes. Sometimes you get a couple hours here and there, but thankfully, God has shown me favor. And so I have been consistently working, y'all. And I'm happy about that because, baby, I got stuff I gotta take care of and bills to pay. I got trips coming up. I'm trying to decorate my room. So any money coming my way, I am not gonna say no to. So I'm happy to be working, happy to be just whenever they call me to come in, I'm like, yes. Unless obviously like I got something going on, which is usually like doctor's appointments and things like that. But other than that, I'm usually always available to go in. And so I just thank God for the favor that they've shown with me. Outside of that, today I'm recording this on October 14th. We are officially 2 weeks out from your girl's birthday. Yes. I am so excited, which is a testimony in itself because this time last year, I was not looking forward to my birthday. Like, I just was meh about it. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm always excited for my birthday. I'm always looking forward to it. I'd be having plans. I will put stuff together for my birthday, but last year, like, I was just feeling very ennui about it, like feeling very listless about it. I couldn't care less what was happening. But this go around, I am super excited. I cannot wait. We have big plans. I will talk about it in the next episode. So we are coming out with 3 episodes this month since it is your girl's birthday month. So a little birthday treat. So I will talk about where we're going in the next episode, but I'm super excited for my birthday trip. But yeah, child, last week I was ripping and running. And then I had therapy, I had doctor's appointments, and the doctor's appointment that I had last week was like my first doctor's appointment since coming back from Korea. So it just was a lot going on. First of all, I was supposed to have this doctor's appointment back in September and they canceled on me, which the doctor had an emergency, so I gave it grace, but I had been wanting to see him for a minute. So this go around, I had like a list of questions that I needed to ask him because I was like, I haven't seen a real doctor for real. And even if I'm honest, when I was in Korea, I didn't have like a primary physician that I was seeing. There was just a hospital where I lived and I just would go in there. And if I had any issues, problems, concerns, I would just go in there and whoever the doctor was would just be the one to see me. It wasn't like I had a primary doctor. So this was like having to come back and go through the whole process of finding a primary care physician was actually quite daunting. And therefore, because my anxiety just took the best of me, I just kind of dragged my feet on the whole process. Not to mention, obviously, I was moving and it just was at the bottom of the list. But I'm like, this time I really need to take my health seriously and make it a priority. So I was just happy to see him and kind of get some things out of the way and start seeing him on a monthly basis. So yeah, child, I'm just happy to be able to do that. And what else did I do? Oh, y'all, I had to get my real ID last week because obviously, as most of y'all know, you need your real ID to travel. Now for me, I just was like, oh, I'll just use my passport to travel, which for what I saw, you could still do anyway. Like, that's not a big deal. But I know I needed to get my real ID for the simple fact that my driver's license does expire on my birthday. So I'm like, I need to get it. Let me go ahead and just kill 2 birds with 1 stone them, essentially. Y'all, I didn't know they don't print it off for you right then and there. That it's something that they have to mail to you. I had no idea. And they talk about some 2 to 4 weeks to mail that to you. Why didn't nobody tell me? Like, I understood that they said like it went into effect like I think in May. And so I was like, okay, I understood that it's something that's needed. And again, especially if you're traveling and all of those things. But I just was like, okay, I'm not gonna really need to change it over until my birthday. So I was like, I'll do it in October because that's when mine will expire. And I was still debating about switching my driver's license over from New Jersey to Oklahoma anyway, because I didn't know if I really wanted to make that transition, if I'm being honest, but obviously I live here. It makes sense for me to do that. I don't live in New Jersey. I've registered as a voter here. So it just made sense that obviously my driver's license, but like I really didn't want to switch my driver's license over to here. So I think that was also part of why I dragged my foot. And then also the money. I wasn't making consistent money enough to just be paying $50 some odd for a driver's license, $50 to $80. So that added to my delay. So if I'm being honest, one, I was dragging my feet on switching from New Jersey to Oklahoma. Two, I didn't have the money to really switch over like that. And three, I didn't know that they had to mail it to you. I only know one other person who had to switch over their real ID, and they didn't make mention to the fact that it had to be mailed. So to my surprise, I go in there and they're like, yeah, we're gonna give you a temporary one and you have to wait like 2 to 4 weeks. I'm like, what the hell? So now I'm so mad because I have a temporary one. I still have my original license, but as I said, I'm going away for my birthday, and now I can't get a little drinky drink on my vacation because once my birthday passes, I don't have any like actual ID to use because it expires on my birthday. And I doubt most of the places will take my passport or the temporary ID. Actually, I don't know. Do bars take your passport as a legal form of ID? I don't know. I don't want to be carrying my passport around just for that. I don't think it's that big of a deal, if I'm being honest. It's just, I'm upset. Me and my homegirls are upset because it also just means that a short period of time, I don't have a license. I just have a paper temporary one. And if I had known ahead of time, I probably would have just asked my parents or someone else to just lend me the money so I could have taken care of it early. I just assumed that they would have printed it off to me. But that's neither here nor there. It is what it is. But that just sucks on my part because I had no idea that was part of the whole real ID process, is that they couldn't print it off for you right then and there. But I digress. Anyways, moving on, we are going to talk about what had happened was. That is our segment when we talk about pop culture, all the things that are going on in the news and things like that. Originally, I think I just called it pop culture news, but I'm trying to be creative with my titles. So I think for this segment, we're going to call it what had happened was. So all the things pop culture related. And baby, a lot has happened in pop culture, okay? First things first, me and my homegirls are upset because Diane Keaton done up and left us, okay? Matter of fact, Diane Keaton and D'Angelo, as of today, both up and left us. And I am upset. My feelings are hurt. Because what do you mean Diane Keaton decided to die on us like this? I can't tell you how much I love Diane Keaton. The First Wives Club, You Don't Own Me, that's the only way I know how to sing that song, okay? I think like there's a new version of it that came out years later, but like I love that movie. Not to mention, in this household, we watch The Godfather 1 and 2, because we do not acknowledge number 3, 1 and 2 every Thanksgiving. Now, I know for a lot of people, they don't really have any connection to The Godfather, but this is a Godfather household, okay? This is a household where Don Corleone is respected, okay? We do not play about the Don. But Diane Keaton, aka Kay, we do not play about her. And so to hear the father of the bride, I'm so upset. I am so upset. And then only for D'Angelo to turn around and pass away. That man was only 51 years old. And I had no idea he was battling with cancer for so long. Like, that breaks my heart. And I think I saw somewhere on Instagram today that somebody said, oh, Angie Stone said she was going to come back for him. And I cried. I was sitting here talking about Erykah Badu, but in reality, Angie Stone loved that man. And now they're together. I can't believe this. How does it feel? Brown Sugar, the D'Angelo is gone. Everybody is gone but Mango Mussolini. I need to talk to the Lord. I need to go back in my prayer closet because something's not right. Either Diane Keaton and D'Angelo know something that we don't know, or I need to go back to my prayer closet and ask questions, because why is everybody leaving this earth but that man? Okay? I am sick. So yeah, I'm so beside myself that these two people, and I don't want to be superstitious, but you know they say it comes in threes. So now I'm scared who's the third one. I am scared to find out who's number 3. Because at this point, throw the rest of the week away. Throw the rest of the week away. Then this is kind of a follow-up from the previous week. Everybody is talking about the Bad Bunny Super Bowl. Child, I'm excited. I am happy for Benito and the Super Bowl. Listen, y'all better learn the lyrics to his songs. You better get your Duolingo on. You better get your Google Translator on. What's the other app? You got your Speak app. You better get your Spanish on and prepare your living rooms, prepare your hearts and minds for the Bad Bunny Super Bowl. My sister and I have been talking about who I think he needs to bring onto the stage. Obviously, for the last night of his residency, he brought Mark Anthony. I would not be upset if he didn't bring Mark Anthony again, but I'm like, he needs to bring, if he could, I was like, if he brought Carlos Santana on the stage, I would scream. Carlos Santana, Elvis Crespo, Don Omar. I was talking about Gloria Estefan. I mean, like, obviously not all of these people are Puerto Rican, and I don't know if he's going to stick to specifically Puerto Rican artists, but I'm like, there are a plethora of people that I think if he just makes it a whole Latin cultural, like, ordeal, just... whatever he does, I'm here for it. But one thing I hope he does, one thing is that I ask of Bad Bunny, Benito, if you are listening, I don't think he's listening, but Benito, do not give these people a single word of English. I don't even want to hear a yes in English. You better give nothing but Spanish from the time you hit that Super Bowl floor to the time you get off. I just want the captions to not even be able to capture what it's saying. I want the caption to be like, we don't know what he's saying. That's how much I don't want this man to speak English, because everybody is so gung-ho on the fact that, oh, he's not American. Y'all clearly are dumb. Y'all clearly do not have 2 brain cells to rub together. And I want to say y'all will go back to school, but I don't even think school will help y'all, because the fact that y'all don't even know that Puerto Rico is part of America is beyond sad. And I also hope he brings Cardi back too. I hope he brings Cardi on stage, simply because I know not everybody was introduced to him through I Like It Like That with Cardi, but I know, like, that's when he became, at least for me, maybe somebody else can check me on that, but to me, that's when he became mainstream. But I hope he brings out some big names. I'm telling you, Gloria Estefan, Carlos Santana, like, I just want this to be a Latin, just F you to the American people on that stage. That's what I want, okay? And speaking of F yous, the people are dragging Miss Swiffer Wetjet through the ringers on the ticks of talks. They are dragging my girl, and as rightfully should. I never understood why Miss Swiffer Wetjet was getting the popularity that she got. First and foremost, this girl's from Pennsylvania, and she's cosplaying as a country girl from, Nashville, Tennessee? This girl's from Pennsylvania. First and foremost, let's get that out the way. She is a suburban girl from Pennsylvania cosplaying as a country girl from Nashville, and that already annoyed. Then she writes in her diary like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Like, she writes in her diary like Cher from Clueless. Actually, no, I feel like that's actually an insult to Cher. But she just writes, She writes like Clarissa Explains It All. If you remember the show Clarissa Explains It All, she writes like that in her diary. And it pisses me off. The fact that people would infantilize this girl and she was grown. She was a grown woman. And so the fact that the internet is eating her up and by her fellow Wahite women, I'm here for all of it. Because about dang time, y'all recognize she is very bland. There's not like she literally writes the same thing over and over and over. And the fact that y'all are now figuring out that like she's not as sweet and innocent as y'all thought she was. The girl's not an ally. She's a billionaire. She's partnered with maggots, and there's evidence of that. And yet y'all keep making excuses for her. And don't get me started on the Black Swiffer WetJet fans. Y'all also be making excuses for her. Y'all be the ones that really like the ones who are palm colored, fine, whatever. They resonate with her. I don't care. But the black ones, why are y'all here? Like, there's so many other artists that are better. If you want to stay in that lane, you have Adele. Enough said. And Adele has put out better music at the same age as this girl. Better music. You can look at Adele's music at every stage, and she's been better. She writes better. Then you have the one girl that the black community don't play about, and that's Haley Janae Lakeisha Williams. Please, Haley Janae Lakeisha Williams is right there. You mean to tell me you're overlooking Paramore for the Miss Swiffer WetJet? Seriously? And if that's not your genre of music, Miss Renee Rapp is right there. Miss Renee Rapp in all her stunningness is right there. So like, what's your excuse? Either you like mediocre music or you're tone deaf. One or the other, because I don't get it. Mbakopon. Sa mbakopon. Sa pa fe sens. I don't get it. I don't understand. Somebody please help me. I actually don't want to understand. But that to me is confusion. But the fact that people are dragging her through the internet, listen, I'm glad that people are starting to wake up, because I never understood what the hype, because I felt like there was so many other, like, I felt like the moment people should have realized she's not actually country and she's a suburban girl from Pennsylvania, that should have been the part that woke y'all up. But I guess I was giving y'all too much grace on that. But anyways, moving on. We are going to talk about books, my favorite thing to talk about, next to everything else I love to talk about. So now we are moving into the segment called Girl, What You Reading? Because we talk about books, y'all. I love books. And so this past 2 weeks, I read 3 books, but we're only going to talk about 2, because one of them, I don't really know how to talk about on here. It is a Chinese romance book, and it was the 5th in the series that I finished this week, and I don't even know how to describe it without going through certain lores, and that feels confusing in and of itself. So yeah, like, I'm just gonna put that off to the side. But just know I read 3 books this week, or these past 2 weeks. I did increase my book reads goal to 60 books for the year. I think I am at 45 books so far. So yeah. So like I said, I read 3. The first one was one we are not going to talk about. The second one was a book called The Good Girls by Claire Eliza Bartlett, or Elisa. I'm assuming it's Eliza, but Claire Eliza Bartlett. So what we're going to do, as before, I'm going to read the synopsis, and then I'm going to tell you my thoughts. So it starts off saying, the troublemaker, the overachiever, the cheer captain, the dead girl. Like every high school in America, Jefferson Lauren High contains all of the above. After the shocking murder of senior Emma Baines, 3 of her classmates are at the top of the suspect list. Claude, the notorious partier, Avery, the head cheerleader, and Gwen, the would-be valedictorian. Everyone has a label, whether they like it or not, and Emma was always known as a good girl. But appearances are never what they seem, and the truth behind what really happened to Emma may just be lying in plain sight. As long buried secrets come to light, the clock is ticking to find Emma's killer, before another good girl goes down. So I gave this book 3 stars because I saw the ending coming probably halfway through the book. Don't get me wrong. I think this book was good for what it was in terms of like, especially in high school, everybody has a label and it's kind of hard to break out of those labels. Whether you're the cheerleader, you're the jock, you're the emo kid, the skater boy, all of these things, it's hard to break out of those stereotypes because once you have those labels, people just kind of box you in. And so when you're trying to be someone not necessarily new, but like you're trying to show that there's more to you than just the cheerleader, for example, most people have a hard time trying to merge the two images together. So that messaging of the book I really liked and really appreciated. But the whole mystery aspect of like, oh, there's a dead girl, we're trying to figure out who killed her, and then there's this thread of like suspense. I was kind of able to figure out who the suspect was pretty early on because they try to throw a bunch of like wrenches in the story, and I'm like, that's a distraction, move that out the way, like get that out of here, like I don't really care about this. So yeah, I think I gave this 3 stars because again, I have read stories like this that have done this better, where you have, I think it was called One of Us is Lying, where it's 5 or 6 kids that are all in detention and one of the kids in the classroom ends up dying, and so all the kids in the room end up a suspect, and so you have to kind of figure out how this kid died. That story completely took me by surprise because I couldn't figure out who was the suspect, who was the villain the entire time. So that was done really well. And again, it was also a high school setting, also a bunch of labels that were set on different kids, and they were trying to like, you start to learn about each kid because it has multiple POVs, and you're learning about them and their struggles, their mindsets, all of the things. And I read that like years ago, but like reading this, I came into it with an open mind. But yeah, I was able to guess who the person was pretty quickly. That by the time I got to the end, I'm like, I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. So yeah, again, this was The Good Girls by Claire Eliza Bartlett. Again, not a terrible book, but I just gave it 3 stars because I was able to figure out the ending pretty quickly. So then the next book I read was called A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena. And again, here is the synopsis of the story. So it says, a dancer turned spy must decide how far she will go to secure her freedom. My protector is gone, revealed to be a monster, but I remind myself that I am not a damsel. I'm no princess bound within a tower. I am a shadow. Vasily Moran was once a dancer in King Ilian's court until he framed her for murder. Barely surviving her 2 years in the dungeons, she's suddenly called to face her king. He offers her a deal. Become his spy at the 6-week royal gathering and he'll grant her freedom. As Ilian's order grow bloody and dangerous, forcing her to harm and betray those around her, Vasily discovers that the monster she serves may be aligned with a bigger monster, one far closer to home. With her world threatened, Vasily enlists the help of Ilian's brother and greatest adversary, the infamous King of the East. As the rivalry between brothers escalates, with Vasily caught in the middle, the horrifying truth of her past comes to light. If she wants to survive, she must decide who to trust, who to fight for, and how much of her soul she's willing to damn in the process. This was a good book. I gave this book 4 stars, and here's why. I gave this book 4 stars because I thought this was a standalone book. I did not realize this was a series. And that's starting to be my frustration in a lot of the books that are coming out right now, is that we're experiencing a lot of books that are like duologies or trilogies. And I feel like sometimes it's okay to make a book a single standalone, like you read it, you finish it, it be that set. And so I went into this book thinking this was a standalone, only to find out, this is not a standalone. I think this is, I believe it's a duology. I think the second book is out already, or it's supposed to come out next year. I'm not 100% sure, but that's the only reason why I gave it a 4 star, because I went into it thinking it was a standalone. And then once I got to like the last 5 chapters, I was like, what the hell? What's going on here? Ain't no way we finna wrap this up. Like, we don't have enough time to wrap this up. And sure enough, I got to the last chapter and I was like, God dang it. Like, why would you do this to me? And so why would you do this to me? Like, I just have a really bad habit of picking up books that I don't realize, or rather, if they are duologies or trilogies, I don't look into whether at least book 2 is out, so that way I can just jump into the second one and wait for book 3. Or if it is a duology, find out when the second one comes out, that maybe I don't pick it up immediately and just wait till the second one is closer to coming out. So that way, because what ends up happening is if the second book doesn't come out till next year, I have to either reread the first book or I have to find someone who did a quick review or spoiler of the first book so I can remember and then jump into the second one. So that'd be my problem, is that I'll pick up a book thinking, oh yeah, this is a standalone, or knowing it is 2 or 3 in a series, but I'm thinking, oh, the second one's already out, it's fine. Realizing, oh, the second one doesn't come out till 2027. And now I'm mad because I gotta wait. But other than that, the story was really good. The world building was good. I love the fact it had to do with a dancer who was becoming a spy, and the fact that the dancer, she has some disabilities and some issues, because apparently I think the author talks about it in a letter to the readers that she herself has some disabilities, and she wanted that to come through her female character and to show that even with a lot of these disabilities that she could still overcome them and still have a relatively normal life with just some adjustments to the conditions that she has. So I really loved the fact that like we're seeing Vasily go through all of these different trials and tribulations and having to adjust to the changes in her body and the things that her body isn't capable of doing, especially as someone like she was a dancer and then she was in prison and now she's having to go through this 6 weeks trial and having to make adjustments to her body that she never had to think about. And she talks about, like, this is not a spoiler, but she just talks about like having to now be grateful for her body in ways that she took advantage of or never paid attention to previously. So those were the things that made me really, really love the book. So in any other circumstances, I would have gave this book a 5 stars or maybe like 4.5 stars, but I gave it a 4 because of the fact that I was mad that this is not a standalone book and now I have to wait till next year to read the second one. So there's that. Again, the 2 books that I read these past 2 weeks were The Good Girls by Claire Eliza Bartlett and A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena. If I was to recommend one or the other, I definitely recommend A Dance of Lies. Again, just keep in mind that it is, I think at the very least, a duology. So just keep in mind that there is a second book and it's not out yet, but it's definitely a book that I would recommend reading. So there's that. But yeah, other than that, let's move on to the main event. I'm not going to do too much talking today. I mean, I say that and then I just be yapping. So don't get me to line. Actually, don't get me to line. But I kind of just wanted to talk about the fact that like Black women are up right now. I don't know about your timeline, but my timeline is showing a plethora of Black women either getting into amazing, healthy relationships, or they're getting engaged, or even getting married. And I'm just like, I don't know what's in the water. I don't know what's in the air. I don't know what's going on, but I'm just trying to figure out where I need to be so I can get me some of that. Like, I don't know if these ladies all sat under a table and did the 12 grapes at the top of the year, and that's why this is happening for them. I don't know, but whatever it is that happened for them, I need to get in on it. I don't know if there was a meeting that they all got together and they said, okay, although we didn't get the Black woman in office this year, we're still going to make it a Black woman year and we're going to make sure that Black women are up. I don't know, but I am here for it. Listen, because you got Meg Thee Stallion in a relationship with Klay Thompson. You got Normani, who's engaged to, I think his name is DK Metcalf. You got Coco Jones, who's engaged. You got, I believe, Miss Universe from a couple years back. She's a Black woman who got married this year. You got Mona Leo, who had a beautiful pink wedding this year. Apparently Brian Destiny and Keith Powers is getting engaged or got engaged recently. I mean, it has just been And then there's like a couple of YouTubers and social media creators that I have followed who have either gotten married or gotten engaged. And I'm just like, when will it be my turn? But at the same time, I'm happy. Like, I'm happy for us, especially, like I said, Black women, because so often, or more times than not, you just be seeing Black women just treated all types of ways through dating shows or social media or whatever the case may be. And so I think just seeing all of these Black women just in love, it is such a breath of fresh air, honestly and truly. And I just honestly just wanted to talk about that, like, not in no long, lengthy way, but I just wanted to say that I'm just so happy to see it happening, because a lot has been going on politically, socially, economically, just all the leads, including Bruce and Jet, that it can just weigh on your mental, that you just want to bury your head in the sand and just hope that all of this will go away. And I think like the sporadic announcements of Black women showing themselves engaged or getting married or entering relationships that are seemingly happy. And I get it, yes. Also, I recognize that social media is only the highlight reels. We don't know the ins and outs, the behind the scenes. We could get into the details of all that, and I don't want to, okay? I just want to hold on to the happy feeling. I want to cling to the dopamine feeling that this just feels good, that this is just like, it's so nice to see it. Because there's always just so many conversations when you look at like the pop the balloon, right? Or when you see like the whole like Love Island debacle that happened over the summer, a lot of times you just kind of feel like you feel deflated when you see how like Black women are treated when it comes to like them wanting to have their own love stories and to be, catered to and yearned after and sought after and chosen. And you think like, why is that so far-fetched? Why is that such a, fantasy? Like, why is that not reality? And I think it's just so nice to be able to see various types of Black women from all walks of life just experiencing a love that they deserve, a love that feels safe, a love that is like a soft place for them to land. Again, I don't know any of these people from Adam, and I don't know the backgrounds to any of these things, right? But I'm just going to go off of the overarching theme, which is that Black women are receiving a kind of love that should not be rationed to them. I think that's the best word, is that it feels like Black women could only receive that type of love is if it's rationed, or if it's fought for, or if it's struggled for, or if it's, you know what I mean? Like all the things. Anybody who knows me, y'all know how much of a disdain I have for love and basketball. I know hate is a strong word, but I will use it this go around. I hate love and basketball, and the way the way it's put on a pedestal for the type of Black love we are to aspire to have, and all of these things, because I don't even remember. I know that man's name was Q. I don't remember Sanaa Lathan's character, but you cannot convince me. And maybe that's a new segment I need to do, is taking the classics, the Black movie classics that we all know and love, and really dissect why some of them are good and why some of them, if we're being honest, they're not the best. Like, I think I need to I think that might need to be a project I work on, because if we are to keep it a buck, a lot of the movies that we praise and love are not that good. Or if you do find connection with them and they're your favorites, they might be saying something about you, for good or for bad. And maybe that's something I need to like sit with and pray about and think about, but it might be saying something about you. Because right now I am I am working towards soft launching my sexology business, and slowly trying to figure out what type of content and things to put out as well. And so I think I wanna try and look into this Love is Blind situation. Love is Blind is I have my feelings about Love is Blind, but I may talk about my feelings towards Love is Blind, especially in this most recent season. And I think also I want to talk about some of our fave, especially in the Black community. A lot of and I think honestly, I want to go cross reference because I know I don't want to assume that everybody's favorite movies are like the Love Jones, the Love and Basketball, the Brown Sugars. I know for some people it is 10 Things I Hate About You. It is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days or something along those lines. Or you know what I mean? Like She's All That. Like I know that there's an intersectionality for a lot of people. So I don't want to assume that everybody's favorite love movie or romance movie rather is Brown Sugar or Love and Basketball or The Best Man, right? I also recognize because my favorite romance movie is Pride and Prejudice. And I understand that there is a certain demographic of Black and brown girls who Pride and Prejudice speaks to them. And that says something about the type of girl that they are. My second favorite movie is The Photograph with Lakeith Stanfield and Issa Rae. And that was after years of Brown Sugar being my favorite movie until one day, I don't know, maybe the scales just fell off my eyes. I watched it and I was like, this feels problematic. And not obviously there's a natural course of drama that happens in romance, right? Where you're going to have miscommunication, you're going to have a misunderstanding that comes up, and it's like, how do the characters get through this? How do the characters navigate this? There's obviously that, but there are some things that's like, this shouldn't even be an issue that we're talking about here. Like this shouldn't have been a problem that should have came up, because there should have been a conversation before we got here, right? Because for example, Brown Sugar, I loved Brown Sugar. But why is it that why is it that you had Taye Diggs go off and get married, Sanaa Lathan's character secretly be in love with him, or rather they both were secretly in love with each other, but it's like it wasn't until after he got married that they decided like they had a whole affair. Like it just was messy. Versus it's like there could have been a conversation prior to, versus now you're causing damage to not just there's other people now involved. But again, I think this is something that I actually like, the wheels are starting to like spin in my head, that I think I might have to make this a series. Like I think, and not just like through the podcast, but I think I might have to do like a short form version of this on TikTok and Instagram. And then I think I might do like a long form version of this here, of like really dissecting the romantic classics. And even there's a lot of them that I have not seen that I think I'm even willing to sit down and watch them and kind of dissect why they pull on heartstrings in the way that they do. What tropes do they follow? Because I think that's like, at the end of the day, everybody's falling for these tropes. It's why romance novels are a fan favorite. It's like they're never going to go away, because people love the sunshine and the grumpy pair. They love the black cat and the golden retriever pair. They love the second chance tropes. They love the love at first sight tropes. You know what I mean? Like all of those types of things. And so I think that's something to dive into. And I know I kind of went off the road for a second, but yeah, basically what I was just trying to say is that like seeing Black women fall in love and not receive love that needs to be rationed, that needs to be struggled for, that needs to be fought for unnecessarily. Because it's not that I don't think that you shouldn't fight for love. I just don't think that you should be fighting unnecessarily, or that it should be a one-sided fight. Because I think a lot of times that you hear people say like, oh, you need to fight for love, but it's always one-sided. It's never a mutual fight, or it's never like the same way people talk about when you're having a conflict, it's us versus the problem. I think it's always like a fight of like me versus you, versus like we're fighting against the problem. Like that's not the conversation people are talking about when they're saying like you need to fight. And so yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about that real quick and just say that like I'm just so happy to see that, and I'm hoping that it means God is in the neighborhood. And I'm always going to say that. I'm always going to say I hope God is in the neighborhood, because I'm ready to meet me and mine. Like I'm ready to meet my person, and I'm not ashamed about that. I'm not going to act like I don't want to be married and I don't want to find a husband. I am not embarrassed to tell people that I desire to be married. I desire to be to be a mom, even with the way the world is unfolding. These things are still my desire. And I have to believe that regardless of what the times look like, that if God grants me these things, that there's a level of protection and grace and things like that, that he will provide me with, not necessarily to be able to dodge what's happening like the Matrix, but to be able to navigate it in a way that won't feel like unnecessary turmoil, I guess, or painful toil. Specifically. So yeah, I will never shame. You can't shame me for wanting to be married and wanting to have a husband. Like, if you don't, you don't. Like, I'm not going to shame somebody for not wanting to be married or not having kids. So why are you shaming me because I want the opposite? That's weird. Anyways, nonetheless, yeah, I'm just really happy to see Black women in love, because love looks good on us. Like, seeing the girls smile, showing all 32 teeth, seeing their glow, seeing like just the light in their eyes. Listen, I love it. I love it. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to chat about that, because I wonder if anybody else's timeline is coming up the same, or maybe if it's just mine specifically that is coming up like that, where I'm just seeing so many Black women just either entering really amazing relationships, getting engaged, getting married. And if it's just me, that's fine. Maybe, again, that's just the messaging that I'm supposed to see. Maybe that's just the messaging that I'm supposed to see in this season. But that's fine with me. Sign me up. Just if, there's another meeting, somebody make sure I get the invitation so I can show up promptly. It's all I ask. But yeah, I think I'm going to close it up here and wrap it up. Thanks for listening, guys. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with your girl. As always, I'd love your thoughts. How has your past 2 weeks been? Let me know what's going on. For anybody who has a real ID, how long did it take for y'all to get it? Did it actually take 2 to 4 weeks, or do they just overestimate to be on the safe side? Because I need, in the words of Enrique Iglesias, I need to know, because I got a trip coming up and I got to figure out what my alternative plan is. I will look into if using my passport as an alternative ID, if that works. But if not, it's not a big deal. And also, are y'all suffering like I'm suffering about Diane Keaton and D'Angelo passing? Because me and my homegirls are upset. I need to, like, I'm beside myself. So I want to know if you're feeling the same. Are you excited for Bad Bunny Super Bowl? Or do you not care nonetheless? I would hope you care, because I think, again, because of everything going on politically and socially, I think it's very apropos for what's going on, especially because, again, that man did like a 30+ week residency in Puerto Rico because he wanted to keep his people safe from what's happening in the streets with ICE. And I think that's commendable. So, like, I'm excited that he gets this opportunity. So what are your thoughts on the Bad Bunny Super Bowl? What are your thoughts on Miss Swiffer Wetjet getting dragged for filth in these social media streets? Again, just to recap on the 2 books I finished reading, that was A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena and The Good Girls by Claire Eliza Bartlett. Would you pick up any of these 2 books? If you do, let me know, and let me know your thoughts when you actually read them, because I'd love to have a conversation. I try to keep spoilers away, because it's not like this is like a book review type of channel or podcast. So I try to keep the books, like how I talk about them, very minimal. But if you want me to give full spoilers, I'll be more than happy to, and give like full discussions. I can, but I just try to keep them to how I rate them, my thoughts on them, all of that. But if you want me to give more in depth, I'll be more than happy to in the next episode. And then lastly, again, does your timeline look like mine in terms of like seeing a plethora of Black women like entering really healthy and amazing relationships and things like that? And I also lastly would love your thoughts on me reviewing I'm going to say romance classics, because I don't want to limit them to just the Black ones. But obviously, me being a Black woman, and I imagine most of my audience is Black or brown, you are familiar with a lot of the classics, but I also understand the intersectionality, because again, Pride and Prejudice is my favorite romance movie. And so I imagine there are a lot of people who fall into that category as well. So I'd love your thoughts on me analyzing a lot of the classic romance movies that a lot of us tend to love and lean into, and analyzing them for what they like, if they're actually good, what are some of the troubling aspects of them, etc., etc. So let me know if that's a series that you would actually be willing to listen into and check out. So other than that, y'all, Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for coming and checking out the podcast as usual. Again, I will be making one more episode this month. It's gonna be a birthday one. So we're not gonna talk about the usual things. But in the meantime, between time, make sure you're following your girl on social medias. That would be on Instagram and TikTok. The handle is Sorin Soapbox. That is SORINS_SOAPBOX. Come talk to me. Come chat with me. Let me know your thoughts about today's episodes and the topics we talked about. Again, wherever you are listening to this podcast, make sure you give your girl a rating. Give your girl 5 stars because I'm a 5-star chick, okay? So, with that being said, I love you for real. Thank you for hanging out with your girl. Your girl is off her soapbox. See ya!